Yellow. I got friends on both sides of the political aisle, and it can get kind of frustrating sitting there in conversations when it comes to firearms. You get the one crowd that's like, no regulation ever. And then you get the other crowd, which by the time they're done are basically screaming, ban everything now. Well, today I think I'm going to focus in on the crowd that states ban everything now. One of the more frustrating groups. They seem to have this notion that if they can just ban it, criminals will throw down their guns, change their ways, and become law-abiding criminals. Well, that's not exactly how it works, as the last time I checked, most hardened criminals are not exactly known for their healthy respect of the law. They usually respond with, well, we gotta do something. Well, they tried that during Prohibition. They tried something. They banned booze, and then we had, moonshine runners running around. If there's a demand for it, someone will try to fill that demand, regardless if it's legal or not. On top of that, the citizenry is guaranteed a right under the Constitution in the United States as it stands to keep and bear arms. So, unless you're willing to make some pretty drastic alterations to the Constitution, the outright banning of semi-automatic rifles, which are the closest thing most civilians can get to a military-grade rifle, would effectively be an infringement of that right. As a result, in order to try to enforce such a radical plan as to outright ban at least the semi-automatic weapons, any sort of foresight would immediately be able to recognize that essentially you'd have to see a massive expansion in the police's ability to, enforce this law. You'd have to start sending SWAT peoples to people's homes. As just like during Prohibition, there's going to be people who will not accept this new law and would start illegally selling and collecting firearms. You'd empower the criminal element and create a new, even stronger arm of the criminal underworld, the gun runner on the American street. In areas that already have a problem with enforcing gun laws, you make the problem at least 10 times worse by default. Any sort of foresight will tell you that effectively you've made a growing problem even worse. Overnight at that. Now, I do understand semi-automatic firearms are a lot more powerful as a tool for destruction than a lot of the other guns on the market. However, at the same time, they are a very capable tool for self-defense and are needed in the event that someone needs to protect their home and country. Although I believe that they should not be banned, there is strong grounds for them to be regulated more than they are. I believe they do need to be regulated more than they are. However, banning them is simply asking for a level of trouble I don't think as a society, the majority of society is not ready for. So unless you are ideologically driven to the point you don't really care who gets hurt in the process of enforcing a ban of that nature, a reasonable gun regulation idea needs to be put forward. I put forward an idea in one of my earlier videos for effectively regulating semi-automatic firearms via a permit system put in place to effectively put reasonable restrictions on the purchase of these weapons. However, by no means do I feel a ban should be imposed, as doing so will help further the divide in our country, which is being driven by two ideological sides that are refusing to come to the table anymore other than to yell at each other. Both sides are like kids in a sandbox they don't want to share anymore. So that'll be all for now, and thank you for your time, and I'd like to hear your responses in the comments section below. See you around!